The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf.
So well over half of our net asset value today, the stuff that our institutions care about is either in production or being built as we speak. So we could afford to have a little bit of this long-term optionality added in.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Summit Royalties President and CEO, Drew Clark. Drew, for investors who may not be familiar with Summit Royalties, tell us more about the company.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So Summit is the newest precious metal entry into the royalty space. We founded the company about a year ago today, more or less, when we signed the LOI to start building the business with a partnership with IAMGOLD. We've been trading for just over 4 months. We're cash flow positive today, and we're very active in the market trying to grow the portfolio. As something we'll touch on yesterday, we just announced another acquisition.
Drew, in fact, you've just announced the acquisition of that 1% NSR royalty on Newmont's Saddle North deposit. Tell us more about what you've bought there.
So for 5 million Canadian, all stock, actually at a premium where we were trading at the time, we acquired a 1% royalty on the Saddle North deposit. Saddle North is a very large gold copper porphyry that's owned by Newmont. They bought it for about $400 million Canadian back in 2021. But why we like it is it's really good long-term optionality at a very good price for our shareholders. And this is a very large deposit. It's got nearly 9 million ounces of gold in it already and nearly 5 million pounds of copper. We don't have a start date as to when it's going to go, but we think the nearby infrastructure and it having such a great operator, it's great long-term optionality for shareholders, and the market really received it well. So we're happy that people agree with us.
How does it fit into your strategy for accretive growth and long-term cash flow, Drew?
So this would be certainly on the accretive side. If you look at what our price to NAV basis was and what we paid for it. This is long-term optionality, and it adds a little bit of copper to the portfolio that I wouldn't say is lacking, but it's something that we are keen to add. We are still very much so focused on near-term cash flow growth. If you look at sort of how we built the portfolio as it is today, but this is a perfect complement. In the royalty world, you have your cash flowing assets and stuff that's on the come in the near term. But that long-term optionality, particularly when you buy with good counterparties, is something that we really strive to sort of provide to our investors.
As you mentioned, you have cash flow production royalties as well as development and exploration stage properties. How do you balance risk and reward across your portfolio?
Well, from a risk reward standpoint, it's a case by case. It's not a one size fits all kind of answer I can give you. But what I can tell you from the portfolio construct, and one thing we're cognizant of is we want to make sure that how much of our business is producing today and how much of it is coming tomorrow is something that early stage royalties haven't really focused on. So well over half of our net asset value today, the stuff that our institutions care about is either in production or being built as we speak. So we could afford to have a little bit of this long-term optionality added in. I'm not sure if I answered your question about the risk reward, but it sort of speaks to how we're trying to build this business.
I mean, looking forward, what are your priorities for 2026 and beyond in terms of further acquisitions, growth, and also shareholder value?
So as I mentioned earlier, we've only been trading for 4 months. We just had research launched on us yesterday here on Bay Street. So we're going to keep, getting the word out. A lot of people don't know who Summit is. So that's kind of the corporate level. In that, it also ties into continuing to maintain the accretive pipeline. But the assets themselves, and we haven't touched on them, have material catalysts coming up this year. Ramp up of production, inaugural PEAs coming on, and the drill results coming out of some of our properties are fantastic.
So what are some of the milestones then that your shareholders should be looking out for then, Drew?
Well, I mean, some of them already occurred. And I'll use 2 of our producing assets, for example. Madsen is a high-grade gold mine in Ontario. We've got a 1% royalty there. They announced commercial production in January. Bombore is a silver stream that we have that's run by Orezone, which is a fantastic operation. They announced commercial production at their expansion plant also in January. So some of these milestones have already happened, but that ongoing ramp up is going to keep generating more revenue for us. On the other assets we haven't touched on, we've got development starting at Pitangui in Brazil sometime probably around the summer. That's going to start producing cash flow for us next year. And then we've got the ramp up of Zancudo that's currently in production, but they're installing a mill later this year. So we've got some of these deliverables have already come into tow, and some of these are yet on the come.
Sounds like a busy year ahead for the company. I hope you'll continue to keep us updated with your progress.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was a real pleasure.
Drew Clark, President and CEO of Summit Royalties.
The featured company is a paid client of Proactive Group Holdings, and this recording is disseminated by Proactive on its behalf. It is for informational purposes only and does not constitute investment advice, an offer, or a solicitation to buy or sell any securities. Viewers should conduct their own research and consult a qualified financial advisor before making investment decisions. The views expressed are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect those of Proactive Group Holdings, trading as Proactive Investors, or its affiliates. No responsibility is accepted for any loss arising from reliance on the information presented.